ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedules to be with us tonight for this special occasion. This was put together. This was a grassroots effort that was put together not even a week ago, I think, perhaps. Sunday at 3 o'clock. A number of individuals came together and wanted to commemorate the loss of our brothers and sisters from South Carolina. And we came up with what we hoped is a befitting way to do that. We're going to have a number of speakers. I'm going to give a few introductions in just a minute, but we thought we would open with a prayer.
Oh my God, unite the hearts of thy servants, and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, lead them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord.
So we've come together to honor the lives and the sacrifice of 9 souls. Cynthia Hurd, Susie Jackson, Ethel Lance, Reverend the Payne Middleton Doctor, Reverend Clementa Pinkley, Tawanza Sanders, Reverend Daniel Simmons, Reverend Sharonda Singleton, and Myra Thompson. While we mourn the loss of these individuals, these precious souls, in a sense we've come to celebrate their lives and to offer prayers and supplication, both for the mitigation of the suffering that their families and those around the country have felt, but also for the elevation of their souls. I think it's the belief of all religions that prayers offered on behalf of souls who have passed on actually helps to elevate their station in the world beyond, in the realms above. And reading about these souls, just briefly, they were amazing. And the thought occurred to me that even though they did not choose to leave this life in the manner in which they did, I think they would have willingly sacrificed their lives in the path of love and the path of God. So there's a selection from the Baha'i writings that I wanted to share with you that I think speaks to this sacrifice, the nature of this sacrifice, and also talks to us as to how we should live our lives moving forward. And certainly the friends, the members of the church, the community of Charleston, South Carolina, has risen to this challenge. And I see nothing but evidences of love and forgiveness from that community. So we'll share this passage with you, and then we'll introduce our speakers.
O ye illumined loved ones, O ye handmaidens of the merciful, at a time when the somber night of ignorance, of neglect of the divine world, of being veiled from God, have overspread the earth, a bright morning dawned, and a rising light lit up the eastern sky. Then rose the sun of truth, and the splendor of the kingdom were shed over the east and west. Those who had eyes to see rejoiced at the glad tidings and cried out, "O blessed, blessed are we." And they witnessed an inner reality of all things and uncovered the mysteries of the kingdom. Delivered from their fancies and their doubts, they beheld the light of truth, and so exalted did they become, from drowning the chalice of God's love that they utterly forgot the world and themselves. Dancing with joy, they hastened to the place of their martyrdom, and there where men die for love, they flung away their heads and hearts.
But those with the unseeing eyes were astonished at this tumult, and they cried, "Where is the light?" And again, "We see no light. We see no rising sun. Here there is no truth. This is but fancy and nothing more." Bat-like they fled into the underground dark, and there, to their own way of thinking, they found a measure of security and peace. This, however, is but the beginning of the dawn, and the heat of the rising sun, the orb of truth, is not yet at its fullness of its power. Once the sun hath mounted to the high noon, its fires will burn so hot as to stir up even the creeping things beneath the earth. And although it is not for them to behold the light, yet will they all be set into frenzied motion by the impact of the heat.
Wherefore, O ye beloved of God, offer up thanks that ye have, in the day of the dawning, turned your face unto the light of the world, and beheld its splendors. Ye have received a share of the light of truth. Ye are enjoined a portion of thy blessings that endow forever. And therefore, as returning of thanks for this bounty, rest ye not for a moment, sit ye not silent. Carry the men's ears the glad tidings of the kingdom. Spread far and wide the word of God.
Act in accordance with the counsels of the Lord, that is, rise up in such wise, and with such quality as to endow the body of this world with a living soul, and to bring this young child, humanity, to the stage of adulthood. So far, ye are able, ignite a candle of love in every meeting, and with tenderness rejoice and cheer ye every heart. Care for strangers as for one of your own. Show to alien souls the same loving kindness ye bestow upon your faithful friends. Should any come to blows with you, seek to be friends with him. Should any stab you to the heart, be ye a healing salve to his sores. Should any taunt and mock at you, meet him with love. Should any heap his blame upon you, praise ye him. Should he offer you a deadly poison, give him the choice honey in exchange. And should he be a threat to your life, grant him a remedy that will heal him evermore. Should he be pain itself, be ye his medicine. Should he be thorns, be ye the roses and sweet herbs. Perchance such ways and words from you will make this darksome world turn bright at last. Will make this dusty earth turn heavenly, this devilish prison place become a royal palace of the Lord, so that war and strife will pass and be no more, and love and trust will pitch their tents in the summits of the world. Such is the essence of God's admonitions. Such is the sum, are the teachings and the dispensations of Baha.
So it's set to light a candle of love. So we're going to do that tonight, physically as well as symbolically. So, dear friends, I would like to introduce our speakers. I'll introduce all of them, and then we'll let the program proceed naturally after that. So we're going to start off with Rabbi Geoffrey Dennis from Congregation Kolami. I'm right here. There you go. Okay. Good friend of mine. We've been involved in a few things together. We had a wonderful week. A couple of weeks ago, we had an interfaith group, interfaith camp, and the congregation was involved. The local mosque, the Creekwood Christian Church, and then the Baha'is were involved. So it was just a wonderful time together. Next, we have T-Ronn Hicks. Mr. Hicks, over there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to read a little bit about Mr. Hicks. He is a retired pro wrestler, so don't mess with him. He's dedicated the last decade of his life to mentoring today's youth and stopping bullying in our community across the nation. He's the author of a book called My Inside is Brighter Than My Outside. So he has been involved in you might say, the youth movement of sorts. And we're excited to have him here to talk to us. All right, very good. Then we have, let's see who's next up. Reverend Whitney Waller-Cole. There she is. Whitney and I first met back in '07, I think. She was a student at TCU. So come a long way, a wonderful soul. It's so good to be associated with her again in her church. So she's going to say a few words. And then finally we have an honored guest, Dr. Michael Waters. There we go. Dr. Waters. Dr. Waters came all the way from Dallas. We're very blessed and pleased to have you with us. He's with the AME Church in Dallas. Let me just give you a few things. I've got an entire list of his accolades. I'm not going to read them all. It'd take all night. So he's founder and senior pastor of Joy Tabernacle African Methodist Episcopal Church in Dallas, one of the fastest growing AME churches in the state. As pastor, preacher, professor, author, motivational speaker, and community organizer, Dr. Waters' words of hope and empowerment have inspired national and international audiences. And then his accomplishments follow that. I think his greatest accomplishment is at the end here. Dr. Waters is wonderfully married to Dallas Assistant Attorney Ulysses Reeves Waters, and they have 3 children: Michael, Jeremiah, Hope Ulysses, and Liberty Grace. All right. So friends, without further ado, I will turn it over to the Rabbi.
Hello, y'all, and welcome tonight. And I think all our hearts are moved that you are here with us this evening. Now, we have come to this place I've never been to before. It's tranquil, it's beautiful. It's kind of meditative, contemplative, inspiring. And I think that's what AME Emanuel Church was like most nights. And unfortunately, a tragedy, an act of terror, and I think it's very strongly that that's the word we need to use, was unleashed on that place of contemplation and of worship and of caring, and turned it into chaos and horror. But we can look around this space, and I think we can learn some lessons, as the Talmud teaches us. The earth will teach you, and I think this place teaches us. And what I want to draw your attention to are 2 different features here. First of all, we have these lovely dressed stones right over here, formed into these fantastic pillars that give the space symmetry and beauty and order. But then right outside the perimeter of our view, we see all these rocks laid out. They're giant shale pieces, and they're broken, and they're irregular, and they're completely natural and uncrafted. And it makes me think of a verse from the Torah, which is Exodus 20:27. It says, God speaks to us and says, when you build an altar to me, do not make it of hewn stone, for when you use an iron tool upon it, you defile it. Now that's a strange instruction. God is saying, in effect, don't build an altar that looks like this. Build an altar that looks like that. And it seems to be one of those peculiar, meaningless commandments, instructions, admonitions that appear all the time in the Bible. There's no sense to it. Why would God prefer that over that? But if you know the Hebrew, you know that the word being used for iron tool is hevercha, which means your sword. All right? The iron tool is actually literally a sword. What is it saying to us when we use objects of power and attempt to use them to demonstrate, to create an altar, to demonstrate our power over other people? We defile whatever it is we engage in. Now look at, ladies and gentlemen, we in America, we love power. We love power represented in all kinds of forms. We love power in the domination of nature, but we also love the power that comes from the domination of each other. We particularly love our objects of domination, our iron tools, which we fetishize and divinize and celebrate as if they are the cure-all and be-all. That if we just have more and more of these iron tools, we'll solve all of our problems. But I would say to you, that we defile ourselves because we turn these iron tools into idols unto themselves. And it is this idolatry of the power, of the idea particularly characteristic of American obsessions with power, that I can only celebrate myself by denigrating others who are not like me. I can only exercise the true power of myself by subjugating others. And I have iron tools with which to do it. And that's what happened on that night. And that's why that night was a defiling night. That was a night of terror and horror. So we look at this thing in retrospect, and we are shocked and we are horrified. And it's unimaginable, but the truth of the matter is, it's only too imaginable in America. It happens all the time. It happens constantly. And are we going to sit by and just shrug our shoulders and say, there's nothing we can do? There's no way to change, when in fact God is calling us to change. He doesn't want us to force each and every one of us into a shape that complies with a certain paradigm. Rather, each one of us is an unhewn stone. Our heart is the altar by which we live, and it's the altar that God has given us, and that our experiences have shaped in us, and they come like all unhewn stones, in all sizes, in all colors, in all kinds of irregular forms, in all kinds of inconvenient presences. But that is the altar that God desires from us. And that for us to set aside this fantasy that somehow we can control all things and shape all things to our will, and that we may destroy and set aside those things and those people that stand in our way from exercising the power that we think we're entitled to. That is the great defilement of our nation. That is what is leading us to the tragedies again and again and again. So let's work together to set aside our altars of iron on which we regularly sacrifice our children. And let's work towards a society where every unhewn person of every shape and color and size and formation can find a place of serenity and peace and comfort in this country that we all love and we all appreciate. May it be God's will. So I say, altar of life, source and creator, grant a perfect rest under your tabernacle of peace to those who have lost their lives in the attack on Mother Emanuel, those whose lives were cut off by violence, by an act of witless aggression. Put an end to anger, please, hatred and fear, and lead us to a time when no one will suffer at the hands of another. May their souls be bound up in the bonds of eternal life and serve as a living blessing in our midst. Heavenly Guide, hand of shelter and love, grant the people of Mother Emanuel your protection, your wholeness and your healing, and your peace. And let us all say, Amen. Thank you all.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you all for coming out. It's really an awesome thing to see people of all colors, of all ages, coming together as one. Right now, I lay down the challenge. Let this not be just a one-night thing or a travesty happened to happen. It's time for us, as God's people, we're just as human beings, to step up. Regardless if you live in Flower Mound, Colleyville, South Lake, it is up to us to make a difference. But in order for us to make that difference, the difference starts with that person that you see in the mirror every morning, and that's you. You have to be willing to change. And when I say you, I'm especially talking about myself. I don't see people as color. I'm colorblind. Legally, and but I'm colorblind because of the fact that God never wants me to judge on color. You judge a person by the way they treat you, or they disrespect you. Kids don't know hatred. It's taught to them. We as people, we have to stop that. The travesty that happened in Charleston, God knew it was going to happen. God was trying to open up our eyes. And we were just keeping the blinders on. But God also knows, and we all know, as it says in Psalms 30, verse 5, weeping endure for the night, but joy cometh in the morning. So, this is a night of joy. Though we're here because innocent lives, which we think were taken up early in life, but God knew this. Everything that happened, God knows what He wants. This happened to draw us all closer together. For a minute, close your eyes for 1 second. I challenge you to close your eyes for 1 second. Imagine this place being free of all the stress, all the complications that we have. Imagine kids, adults, getting along, nobody being bullied, nobody being talked about. That would be a great place, correct? Open up your eyes. We can make that happen. It's up to us to make that happen. Someone sent me this morning, and I'm going to share this prayer with you. Dear Lord, nothing is impossible for you. Keep me mindful of your strength. When I lose hope, give me faith. When others lose hope, let me tell them about your glory and how great you really are. Today, Lord, let me expect miraculous things and trust, oh Father, that you will guide us the way you would have driven us. When I saw that this morning, this was perfect for this occasion. It's no coincidence that we're here. It's no coincidence that this happened. It's no coincidence that several people got together in less than 96 hours. All of us come together as one. The challenge has been laid. I start with myself. That we go colorblind. And that we continue to love each other. Not because of what they have, but for what the person is. Make sure you're happy with yourself. Because if you're not happy with yourself, you can't love nobody. And I'll leave you with this. Triple B. Bitterness blocks blessings. If you're holding grudges, you better let it go. Because God has a multitude of blessings ready to pour upon you. But if you are sitting there holding on to a grudge, let it go. If the AME church and those people, that young man can let go, we can too. God bless you all, and may He keep you all, and heaven continue to smile upon you all.
There's a theologian, and for me that's an important thing. I'm a minister that serves a Christian congregation in town, who says that when we look to Christ on the cross, we see a Christ with His arms open, with His arms spread wide that all might be embraced. Those who come and kneel and bow at the foot of that cross as victims, as survivors of trial and tribulation that has been heaped upon them by injustice and oppression, who know all too well the life of a God who would inhabit the body of a poor Galilean, a minority member of His community, one who walked around knowing life as a homeless person, preaching and breathing love into places that knew not love. There are those who gather there at that cross, and it is easy for them to imagine what it is to be oppressed. And in one arm, God welcomes them in. Christ on that cross embraces them and calls them and claims them and knows them as his own. And to the other side, there are those who come having never known that life of the oppressed, of those who have known trial, those who have been mistreated, those who have been hated. But rather they know the life of the oppressor, the life of the one who wields that power, who takes those iron tools so easily into their hands that were manufactured for their own good, for their own pursuit of wealth and happiness. And even as they stand there reluctant perhaps to kneel or to bow, that God takes that other arm and wraps them in it too. I believe in a God that binds us to one another, who bounds us together, because my humanity is wrapped up in your humanity. My love is wrapped up in your love. We are responsible for one another. And it's in that spirit that I know we have gathered here tonight. From wherever we have found ourselves in this life, in the variety of moments when we have found ourselves on various sides of those arms that welcome us, be they the arms of Christ, be they the arms of a beloved neighbor, the arms of Allah, the arms of whoever it is that you worship, or however it is that you honor your fellow human. I know that tonight we embrace one another in a spirit of love. And I am so thankful for that gesture, for that embrace. I'm thankful to look out and see a group of people who have come together from across the Metroplex, from across county lines, that we might all sit together and just for a few moments hold in our hearts and in our minds and in our prayers a recognition and a remembrance of those who know all too well tonight at Mother Emanuel AME, who continue to know that they are members of their congregation, who gave their lives in the name of embracing someone, who came in seeking shelter, seeking something that they still aren't even sure what it is. But in the pursuit of love, that they were open and vulnerable. And we mourn that, but we celebrate it too. So thank you for being a part of both the grief and the joy that we know here tonight.
Good evening. On behalf of our presiding bishop, the Right Reverend Geoffrey presides over the state of Texas. Our presiding elder, Reverend Dr. Ella McDonald, presides over the greater Dallas district of the AME Church. On behalf of the 62 congregations that comprise the North Texas Annual Conference of our church, and on behalf of our congregation, the Joy Tabernacle AME Church, the youngest church in that body, 6-year-old congregation, let me thank you for your kindness and for your acts of solidarity. Given not just tonight, but over the days that have followed since the tragedy at Mother Emanuel. Let me also thank you for your courage in being here tonight. It was on Juneteenth that I had the privilege of gathering at the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center in Dallas, where I served as chair. We gathered that night for an interfaith vigil, not just with parties who had come to pray, but also members of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, as there were threats upon us for our gathering that evening. So it takes great courage at times like these to come together and to stand for justice. So I don't take it lightly that you have put even yourselves at risk in gathering tonight under this banner and the calls of prayers for reconciliation. Much like Rabbi Dennis, I was grabbed by the landscaping that surrounds us. Very similar to him, my attention was drawn to a text that arises to us from the book of Joshua. It is said that as the children of Israel crossed the Jordan River, preparing to make entry into the promised land, the elders were instructed to grab some large stones, to carry those stones and to build from those stones a memorial. And it was stated that in future generations, young people would ask, what do these stones mean? The elders were to inform them that these stones are representative of the fact that it was God who brought us over. As I looked across the expanse of this space and looked upon the landscape and saw these great big stones that are behind me, it came to mind that we too have a similar challenge and opportunity. And in the future time, maybe even a time not far from here, there will be young people who will come across this tragedy. They'll begin to ask questions, similar to the questions that my children asked. Why would anyone enter into a church and kill someone? Daddy, why do some people do not like other people because of the way they look? Maybe there will be future generations of young people, even like those who are gathered here together with us tonight, who will ask those very important questions. And when we respond as to what brought us over, what gave us encouragement in these difficult moments, we will say to them that we were the stones, that we together provided each other with the strength, the encouragement, and the power necessary to keep moving forward. We will be living stones. It will be our witness and our testimony that even in the great darkness of this hour, a great light shone forth from each and every one of us. We who believe in justice, we who will work for peace, we who have hope for the coming of a better day. So while this is a great tragedy, while indeed our hearts still break, and while we will be mourning for a season to come, I hope too that we will look back at moments like this and we will see that these moments created us an opportunity to present our best selves. We are best when we are unified. We are best when we stand shoulder to shoulder. We are best when we do not allow pigmentation to create separation. We are best when we see God's light in each other. The question is, as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King penned in his final book, where do we go from here? And he gave us two options. Those options that we can either journey towards chaos, or we can unite together to build community. As it has already been well spoken, let's not wait until the next tragedy to come together. May it not be a season of mourning and weeping that finds us drawn close together to build community. But each and every day, let us build our better world together. If not just for us, for those young people who will come to us in a future time and space and ask us, what do these stones mean? Prior to this tragedy, I had been invited and still have the opportunity to travel to Charleston. I'll be there in the month of August to share with the community, to speak there in the city. And please know that I will carry with me to share with the people of Charleston the various acts of kindness and solidarity given to us, to show them in fact that the world is praying for them and standing with them. God bless you all.
we saved a space for anyone who wants to come up and share any thoughts, prayers, anything, whatever's in their heart. We put a space in the program for, right now for that. So if anyone would like to come up and say a few words, then the floor is open.
I just want to really quick, there was one person here who really brought this all together. It was heavy on her heart, as it was for all of us, but she actually did something about it. And that's Lisa Palmer. So. And to me personally, I am so grateful that you did something, that you didn't just let it sit on your heart and not do anything about it. So someone said 96 hours, you created magic. So thank you.
Anyone else care to share? All right, let's do this then. Why don't we're going to have a special part of the commemoration, lighting the candle. Right? So I think we're going to, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to file out here out in the circular area, and we're going to hand out candles and then we'll light them.